So you've probably seen the headlines, right? Florida is going crypto. It's been all over the place. But what's really going on behind the scenes? Let's dig in and, separate the hype from what's actually happening.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that's been flying around social media. Florida is now a crypto state. Pay your taxes in Bitcoin. I mean, these are exciting, super bold statements. They make it sound like there's this huge crypto revolution happening practically overnight down in the Sunshine State. And for sure, it's the kind of news that gets everybody talking.
So that really brings us to the big question we're tackling here. What's the real story? Is Florida truly becoming the new crypto capital of the world? Or is the reality a little more nuanced? And honestly, maybe even more interesting than the headlines let on.
Okay, let's get right to the source of all this. This whole story, it really just revolves around one single piece of legislation. It's called Senate Bill 314. This is the document that's causing all the buzz. And right here, this is the key difference. You've got the hype on one side basically screaming, total crypto takeover. But the reality? Well, it's a bit different. This law is really focused specifically on stablecoins, and it's just kicking off a limited kind of experimental pilot program. It's definitely not some statewide free-for-all. Not yet, anyway. But check this out. Look at that vote count. 37-0. That's unanimous. Now, in politics, you know how rare that is? And that tells you something really important. This is not some fringe idea. There is some serious, bipartisan momentum behind this.
So when you boil it all down, the law really stands on three key pillars. First, it regulates stablecoins. Second, it launches that pilot program we talked about. And third, it actually takes the step of defining stablecoins as money under state law. So let's break each of those down.
All right, that first pillar, regulation, it's got a really crucial component, this one-to-one reserve requirement. What does that mean? It's pretty simple, actually. For every single digital dollar or stablecoin that gets issued, the company behind it has to have one real dollar sitting in the bank as a backup. This is a direct shot at preventing those kinds of catastrophic collapses we saw with projects like Terra. It's all about making them, well, stable.
And this really drives home that second pillar, the pilot program. Look, this is not about you going out and paying for your groceries with crypto tomorrow. It's a very careful experiment where only some state agencies get to test accepting stablecoins for things like, say, government licenses or fees. A good way to think about it is like a controlled test flight, not the full commercial launch. Okay, so we've covered what the law is. We've got the nuts and bolts. But now let's talk about what it means. Because, and this is the important part, this seemingly small step in Florida, it's actually a pretty giant leap for the evolution of digital money.
Here's the real insight. For the longest time, crypto has been this private sector thing, right? An innovation totally separate from government systems. Well, this law, this is the first real bridge that connects that world to the official financial plumbing of the state. It's literally bringing stablecoins into the system.
A really powerful way to think about what's happening is with this new three-layer model for money. So imagine this. At the very top, you've got your official state money, like the US dollar. Down at the bottom, you have all the decentralized crypto assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum. But what Florida is doing here is officially recognizing and carving out a space for that middle layer, the stablecoins. They are opening the door to layer 2. Okay, now let's zoom way out for a second. This is not just a local Florida story. Not at all. What's happening here is really a test case, a laboratory experiment that the entire world is watching. Why? Because a new global competition over the future of money is really starting to heat up.
We are absolutely entering what you could call the stablecoin economy. Big players, I'm talking banks and governments, they all recognize the potential here for incredibly fast, low-cost global transfers. And so the race is on. The race to see who is going to set the standards and who will ultimately control this powerful new financial infrastructure.
And this right here lays out the different game plans perfectly. You have the US, and Florida is a great example, leaning into a private sector model but with government regulation. Then you've got China, which is going all in on a completely state-controlled digital currency, their CBDC. And Europe? They're kind of exploring a hybrid path in the middle. You can really see Florida as America's opening move in this massive global chess match.
All right, so let's bring it back down to ground level. What does all this mean for the people who are actually building and investing in the crypto space every day? What's the big takeaway for all the developers and the communities out there?
The lesson here is becoming crystal clear. The Wild West era of pure hype, it's ending.
To survive and actually thrive in this new world, projects are going to need 4 key things. We're talking clear rules, robust systems, a real community, and a genuine, real-world use case that goes way beyond just speculation.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that we've totally moved past the question of if crypto will be regulated. That ship has sailed. The conversation now is all about how. Florida's law is just one potential answer. But believe me, it is just the first chapter of a much, much larger story that's about to unfold.
And that really leaves us with a huge question hanging in the air, right? Why are so many experts predicting a massive, like 10-fold explosion in the stablecoin market by 2030? And more importantly, what will that incredible shift mean for everything, for Bitcoin, for traditional banks, and for all the DeFi systems out there? That is the picture that is just now beginning to unfold.